900 pages of secret coronavirus documents have been released. Humanized mice experiments are just the beginning. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Over 900 pages of documents have just been released about US-funded coronavirus research at a Chinese lab. Now, first of all, let me tell you, these documents should have been made public last year, at the height of the pandemic. They would have completely changed the discussion about the coronavirus and what role Chinese labs played. But they were kept secret until now. These two documents are public now thanks to the Intercept, an online publication. The Intercept is using the Freedom of Information Act to force the National Institutes of Health to release documents related to coronavirus research they were funding in China, research that may have led to the coronavirus pandemic. We've known the National Institutes of Health was funding coronavirus research in China. That was through grants they gave to EcoHealth Alliance, a nonprofit run by Dr. Peter Daszak. He used that grant money, taken from U.S. taxpayers, to work directly with the Wuhan Institute of Virology on bat coronavirus research. Of course, we didn't know that at the very beginning of the pandemic. In fact, Daszak organized a letter in the prestigious medical journal, The Lancet, calling the lab leak hypothesis a conspiracy theory. And even though his organization funded the coronavirus research that could have resulted in a lab leak, which is a massive conflict of interest, in the letter he outright lied and said, "We declare no competing interests." Later, we also found out the publisher of The Lancet was also getting money from the Chinese Communist Party. So this already wasn't good. But the new documents obtained by the Intercept just makes the whole mess look worse. Let's look at the first. There are several shocking things this document revealed, including something that blows Daszak's claims that the coronavirus couldn't have come from a lab completely out of the water. Daszak wanted to screen thousands of bat samples for coronaviruses. Part of the research requires people to collect those samples in dangerous environments. That's because, as Daszak's grant proposals acknowledge, these researchers are at high risk of contracting SARS or other coronaviruses. In other words, Daszak knew the risks of lab researchers working with bat coronaviruses. Alina Chen is a molecular biologist who's been advocating for an investigation into the origins of the coronavirus, including the lab leak hypothesis. She told The Intercept, in this proposal, they actually point out that they know how risky this work is. They keep talking about people potentially getting bitten, and they kept records of everyone who got bitten. Does EcoHealth Alliance have those records? And if not, how can they possibly rule out a research-related accident? In other words, it's strange how adamant Daszak was that a lab leak hypothesis was a conspiracy theory, considering in his grant proposal he acknowledges how much of an exposure risk scientists have. The document also revealed that key experimental work with humanized mice was conducted at a Biosafety Level 3 lab at Wuhan University Center for Animal Experiment, and not at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That's important because one of the reasons people insisted the coronavirus outbreak couldn't have been from a lab leak is because the Wuhan Institute of Virology had a Biosafety Level 4 lab. Humanized mice are created when researchers add human cells or human DNA to mice. They do this so it's easier to study how a disease would affect humans. And there's been a lot of debate about how a bat coronavirus became so contagious to humans that it created a global pandemic. A coronavirus specifically engineered to infect humanized mice? That could explain it. According to molecular biologist Dr. Richard Ebright, these documents show the U.S. government grants were funding this type of research in Wuhan. creating novel, laboratory-generated SARS-related coronaviruses that could infect humanized mice. And the laboratory-generated coronaviruses were more pathogenic in humanized mice than the original bat coronavirus. Now, this doesn't mean that the National Institutes of Health were funding research that created COVID-19, but it does show that they were funding the type of research that could have created COVID-19. FYI, the grant provided EcoHealth Alliance with a total of $3.1 million, including nearly $600,000 that the Wuhan Institute of Virology used in part to identify and alter bat coronaviruses likely to infect humans. The grant ran from 2014 to 2019. It got renewed, but the Trump administration canceled it last April as the pandemic worsened. At the time, another high-profile medical journal, Nature magazine, did a sympathetic interview with Peter Daszak. And like The Lancet, it turns out Nature magazine's publisher is also taking money from China. As molecular biologist Lena Chan told The Intercept, "I wish that this document had been released in early 2020. It would have changed things massively just to have all of the information in one place, immediately transparent, in a credible document that was submitted by EcoHealth Alliance." But for some reason, neither the National Institutes of Health nor EcoHealth Alliance were interested in releasing this information until they were forced to. And now, it's time for me to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored on the crowdfunding websites Patreon and Locals. Uttamatamakin on Locals asks, apparently YouTube has adopted some sort of AI that automatically censors the comments. There were times I thought maybe you all were censoring my comments if I disagreed with you too much. Very ironic given the channel name. Yes, over the years, some people have accused me of censoring comments, not just on the China Uncensored YouTube channel, but also on the Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter accounts. By the way, please follow me there. But the truth is, in all the years making this show, we have never deleted comments or even banned a user from commenting, because it would be ironic that a show dedicated to uncensoring things would be censoring things. That being said, YouTube has a pretty sophisticated automatic filtering system, and that's a big reason why we're on Locals now. Locals is a crowdfunding platform that's specifically all about being anti-censorship. And since YouTube and Google do believe in censorship, whether it's using some strange algorithm to delete your comments or taking down entire episodes of China Uncensored, it's important for us to have a backup channel on Locals. If YouTube removes one of our videos again, it'll still be on Locals ad-free. Anyone can follow us on Locals for free. And there are special perks for people who want to become paying subscribers, including being able to have conversations with me and other fans of the show on Locals. We'll also be doing some exclusive content on Locals, like live streams. We just did one earlier this week, so check it out. If you're interested in joining the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army on Locals, head over to chinauncensored.locals.com. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.